when you wear a Fortnite skin, you're basically representing, like, they do partnerships with everybody from Marvel to DC to whatever other things, right? So you're just advertising when you're playing as that character for those brands. And I think that's going to kind of parallel in the real world as we move into more online, people spending more time online, but then also physically. Augmented reality is going to open up some really cool opportunities for physical clothing.
Hi everyone, I'm excited to present another insightful episode of NEWFORUM. NEWFORUM is a community podcast that invites purpose-driven creators, visionaries, developers, and investors to spark accessible and meaningful conversations on crypto, the metaverse, NFT, and everything Web3. And today we're quite pleased to have Ty Henwood, the co-founder and creative director behind Catharsis. Ty is a self-taught 3D artist and designer and sees Web3 as the future of our entire economy and much of the world around us. I cannot wait to hear more about the launch of Catharsis, a physical brand forced by COVID to pivot completely. The vision, mission, and their upcoming launch, the Genesis rings drop. Stay with us. We've got some exciting news at the end, and we can't wait to dive into the conversation. Welcome, Ty.
What is up? Hi, Salimi. How are you today?
Pretty well and excited that you could join us.
Me too. This is fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So I'm super curious to hear more about your background, and I mean, you're a self-taught 3D artist. I mean, we don't have so many people like that. And also the vision, mission, the history, everything behind Catharsis, because I read a little bit about it and how it kind of evolved post-COVID or during the COVID time. And I'm super interested to hear how that all panned out.
Yeah, thank you. Sure. I'll start kind of back at the beginning, and if you please stop me because I tend to ramble. So yeah, like you said, my name is Ty. I'm the co-founder behind Catharsis. We started off as myself. I was in sales for 7 years. I did corporate, and it sucked the life out of me. And I realized after all that, it was not what I wanted out of my life. So I took a hard step back and decided to go after entrepreneurship and kind of follow, the dreams that they're always hearing you should be following. So I launched Catharsis originally as a physical brand, like a traditional kind of Web2 brand back in 2018. And, we were doing really well. We were kind of building it here in Toronto, where we're from, kind of grassroots, and, building a physical presence, getting in retail, kind of working out our supply chain, all those fun things. And we were starting to gain a little bit of traction when COVID did hit, and dried up our entire sales funnel. All of our stores closed down. They locked us down here in Ontario for like a year and a half. So it completely decimated what we had built thus far. And it made me take a really hard look at what I wanted to build. And I kind of realized if something like this could happen and shut down the entire business, within a few weeks, then I'm building it wrong, and so I wanted to, think of a way to make it, proof, everything proof, and online digital is the way to go. But even ad spend, not a lot of people are buying streetwear or accessories during during COVID. So the ones that they were doing it from the big companies who were spending a lot more in ads to get their attention, and we didn't have that kind of budget. So enter Web3, kind of found out about it by accident, like most of us, I'm sure. It started off as like a joke, or you make fun of Bitcoin because you're like, yeah, that's for weird basement nerds, and then you actually kind of learn about it, and you realize those weird basement nerds are going to be so rich and take over the world, and you're like, okay, well, got to learn what I need to learn. So kind of taught, just as we all did, learned as much as I could about crypto from the internet, and realized, yeah, this is the future. This is the next big thing. This is the next internet, really. It's going to be the internet of, finance, and the base layer for everything we do is the blockchain. So I knew we had to get on board, and we had to get it going, and we had to build something that involved this technology. So, I took what we learned from building Catharsis originally and was like, okay, let's apply Web3 to this. Let's make it bigger. Let's make it more interactive. Let's, reward brand loyalty, because that's what blockchain is going to be so good for into the future. Which was super exciting. Came with a whole new vision, kind of redefining fashion in a few ways, because now we have, the metaverse, video games, augmented reality, which is huge, and going to be very huge. And we're excited about that. So now it's just like, integrating this into, that same vision and kind of building it even bigger. And that's where we're at right now. We've got a massive ecosystem that we're building out, and a very long-term plan for building this business into something, into a global brand, a globally recognized design label.
That's very interesting, and it just had this really, a history of Catharsis, and I think the way it organically evolved is really, like, I think my favorite part, of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that, because I have like a traditional fashion background, and I'm always like saying I'm gonna start getting into digital fashion, and how, I get inspired, when I hear these kinds of like stories. And I'm also curious to know more about how it was for you, like when you were onboarding yourself into the space. How is that like? Because some people would say the struggle is real when it comes to that. So what kept you going? Because you were like,
Sure.
the startup was like, it was pretty much a Web2 startup, right? And the situation kind of pushed you into I guess the space. So yeah, how was it like for you?
It was interesting, to say the least, right? Because, as I was kind of mentioning, the first thing you kind of learn about is crypto itself, right? Like that's most people's first entry point is like Bitcoin or Ethereum. I think I first started investing when we're in Canada, so we don't have Robinhood, but we have a similar platform called Wealthsimple, which opened up, and they started allowing you to buy and sell Ethereum and Bitcoin on their phone app platform. And I had heard a little bit about it, and things were up and down. You hear from the random person like, "Oh, Bitcoin's the future, man," but you think they're kind of crazy, until you start seeing things like Bitcoin going up to $20,000, which was huge back then. So I got into Ethereum. I made a little bit of money on Ethereum, because I think I bought in around 500 originally, which was great, because you get that early win, and you're like, okay, well, this is something. I got to learn more. Uh, so that's when Beeple made his sale, the $69 million first 5,000 days sale that he did. Changed the game completely. It was when somebody can sell a digital image for $69 million, 69 million, I think I said thousand, but something's there, and around the same time, actually, Nike, kind of under the radar, they filed a patent for something called crypto kicks, which now we've just this past couple weeks, we've learned what that was about. But they filed that back in 2021, like early in the year, maybe even earlier. So nobody knew what that was, but I kind of realized that the patent itself is talking about like a digital locker for your digital shoes, which you can combine with each other, and they create new ones. And there was a physical component, which is like, it clicked for me. I was like, okay, well, brands are already moving in this direction with their provenance, with their, digital kind of identity backing on the blockchain. So let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's start it before everybody dives in head first and the big players take over. But we didn't really have a track record. So that was something I thought about kind of coming into the space, was like, I didn't know much about it. I wasn't a crypto native guy. I was a fashion guy in the Toronto scene, but not a huge, like, I'm not going to all the fashion weeks and stuff like that. And it was more streetwear. So it was like, okay, how do I build this and get people to know that we have something to offer? So we started with collaboratives. So we launched the brand, we did a small drop ourselves, and then we realized we needed to leverage the communities that already existed. So we started reaching out to sold out NFT projects. And, we got really lucky. A few partners took a chance with us, and we ended up doing these really cool collaboratives, which I'm excited to talk a little more about after. But that gave us at least something like, look, we're producing the physicals, we're here in the space, we're real, we're doing this. And yeah, so now we're doing our own thing. It's a year later. It's crazy. Been in our first launch was September 2021. It's crazy now to see if we've come this far.
It looks like you've achieved a lot, and it's very impressive. It's the word tenacity, I think, like that you sort of
Thank you.
yeah, push through, and resilience is really admirable. And I'm also curious about, like, to hear more about your physical production capabilities, like the
Sure.
vision and direction as a brand, and also maybe if you can talk a bit more about the partnership with NFT.NYC, that would be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. So when we were originally getting started, I kind of learned how to build a supply chain because I had to do it. Because as a physical brand, you have to have your stuff, you have to have something to show, you have to have samples at minimum, inventory at best, especially when you're getting into trying to get into retail locations. So yeah, kind of learned how to do that, source manufacturers, source like, you know, ethical and good facilities as well, because that was something that was important too, is not just like, we don't want, pardon my wording, but like we don't want to deal with sweatshops or anything like that. Like that's not, that's a pretty rough issue that goes on. And, big companies don't really care. And there's positives to it in some ways, but it's pretty rough. So we wanted to find like ethical, sustainable suppliers. And so originally we started with accessories because it was a niche that wasn't really big. We did like really cool, bold unisex accessories, had them produced. We did a major run. We've, got the supply chain now. We can get things pretty tightly manufactured and shipped over. And depending on what the items are, we can do all kinds of really cool stuff. So, for example, as you mentioned with NFT.NYC, that's a big one. We wanted to make a big splash at that event. We loved, the thought of big New York massive event. Every person in NFTs is there. So we actually got in touch with their team, and we were the only brand that did a collaborative piece with their team directly. Which was super exciting for us. They were open to it. Those were our NFT.NYC X Catharsis smartwear pendants. It was a bit of a mouthful, but super cool. We did a bunch of R&D because we wanted to chip our pieces. Basically, we wanted to turn them from just accessories into something useful, something smart, something that had value. Because we wear a lot of things that just exist, but what if we could make those things work for us in some way or another? That was one of the ethos behind the smartwear line that we're doing, which essentially in this particular case, we actually embedded these metal pendants with an NFC chip, an RFID that, it was reprogrammable, and you can tap it to somebody's smartphone or device and use it to point their phone to a specific destination. So for example, if you're at a conference, which is why we made it like this, you can put your business card on it or your website, and you just tap somebody's phone and it'll take them directly there. So it's a great networking tool. It's really fun for, being at a party or something. You can show off your NFTs. You could program your favorite NFT into it, like your Bored Ape, tap somebody's phone, and then it immediately will show up like, I own this, takes them right to that page. And you can reprogram them in under a minute. So they're super versatile. We were so excited about this. And it's something that, a few other brands are doing things with NFCs. And it's not like some revolutionary technology, but being able to have them inside of wearables is really cool. And we're the only ones that I've seen who are doing it with metal so far. Because unfortunately, RFID gets blocked by metal. It actually creates a Faraday cage and stops it from communicating. So you need a special chip, and we had to figure out how to essentially stop that from happening. So we used an enamel casing, and yeah, so it took a little while to get right, but now that we've done it, yeah, these pendants are super cool, and we were really lucky and grateful to be able to partner with NFT.NYC for that.
Amazing. And I'm also interested to know about your I guess plans for 2023. Any plans, any like upcoming launch of some sorts?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've been kind of leading up towards and kind of building in the background, we brought in a team of Unreal Engine developers, a really amazing smart contract developer named Chris Squibo. And we're kind of trying to redefine this space entirely. We're actually creating not a profile picture project, but an avatar collection, which is, there's a subtle difference in the fact that these avatars are dynamic. So they're fully rigged, they're 3D, they're built in Unreal Engine. They are going to work and be playable across different game worlds and metaverses. So immediately when you own one, you'll be able to take him and play him in, your favorite game or your favorite metaverse and walk around as this character. You'll also be able to play them in AR, augmented reality, which is going to be super cool because it'll allow you to use social media. So this avatar can be either your, social media influencer avatar itself or your best friend, and you can shoot TikTok videos dancing with him. The point of this character, this avatar, is to be able to use it anywhere. Take it with you into games, metaverses, and then real life. So social media. We're also doing the AR filters where you'll be able to try on clothing. When you turn the camera around, like the stuff you have on your duplicate, you can wear it on yourself and see how it looks. So these guys, we're aiming for Q1 of 2023. We want to launch 10,000 originally, and we're going to do another 10,000 female versions. And that's going to be kind of our major release for the next few years. So we're calling it season 1, the duplicants, which is the name of them, the duplicants. These duplicants, they're going to be able to, they're not static. So you're not just going to get like a duplicate and that's it. What you're actually going to get is basically a naked avatar. And then a randomized assortment of NFT wearables. And the duplicant can wear up to 13 items. So that's super cool because not only do you have your base avatar as an NFT, but everything that he's wearing is also an NFT that can have different perks, that has a base, a passive income amount. We have a whole staking system where to earn. It's very exciting. But I don't want to, splurge it all here. So please make sure to check it out online. We have a great deck that we put together that kind of explains the whole ecosystem. And we're stoked. We can't wait for that. We want to get that out as soon as possible. We know the market conditions are also a little bit iffy right now. So that's why we've pushed it into 2023. We want to make sure that, first of all, we build the best product possible. We want to have at launch utility immediately available. So you'll be able to go in to our own marketplace, buy, sell, and trade. You'll be able to, choose and select what you want on your avatar at any time and change it out. So we're building a whole character creator and that kind of thing on our platform. And then a few other things as well, some partnerships with game companies. So you're not waiting, like as soon as you mint, you'll be able to go play in a game. Like that's part of what we want to have. And then the AR portion as well, which is huge. And that takes a bit of development on the back end as well.
It seems like you're obviously including all these emerging technology, right? You're like making sure that you have them all like embedded in the project, and that's really great. And I usually have conversations with, some creators or founders, and this idea of like the future being digital and then the future being phygital. Like, where do you stand?
Well, first of all, I hate the word phygital. I use it all the time. We are phygital. But it's such a bad word. It makes me upset. I'm like, shut up. Don't say that. Just
Whenever
call it
I
something
type
else.
it, Google is trying to correct me. Like, do you mean physical? Like,
the worst part is like, yeah, we need like a cool word for it. It's just, it can't be like a dad joke. Phygital sounds like a dad joke. So we need like, because they got digital collectibles now, which is a nice for NFT. But if I just say digital wearable, it doesn't sound as nice. So anyway, yeah, well, it's my pet peeve. Where do I stand on it though? I definitely, like you kind of said, yeah, we're trying to build in as much technology and forward thinking as we can into the brand, because when I started creating the concept for this collection and this ecosystem, I kind of put myself in the shoes of a brand 5 years from now. Like, what is using blockchain, the logical like next few steps where a brand's going to go. And personally, I believe the consumer is getting a bit smarter because they have more access to information, the internet, and all that kind of stuff. So this kind of dynamic between brands and their consumers is going to shift. Right now, brand loyalty exists mostly on air. Brand loyalty exists because of some clout that this brand has achieved over length of existence. And great marketing, like these brands are so big because of great marketing. But really, what does a consumer get out of the relationship that they have? They're like, why are you wearing Nike? Well, because Nike's cool. but what do you actually receive out of that? And it's not a whole lot. Sometimes people resell them. That's a whole separate thing. But the average consumer derives very little value, except for some social status. So I think that, with blockchain technology specifically, as we get to, the next 5-10 years kind of thing, I think all brands are going to have to be forced to adopt some form of real value return to the consumer, because they're going to have other options. Like us, for example, like we've designed our whole model to reward brand loyalty. So we have, the duplicants who, when you wear stuff on them on the digital avatar, you're going to be earning passive income through our token, our loyalty token. Right. So that's when you wear them digitally. So basically, when you wear them digitally, you're marketing in the metaverse. You're a walking billboard for whatever you're wearing. So we want to reward that. And then we have our physical stuff, because we are doing e-commerce as well. So we're building out like a physical e-commerce store. When people purchase from us, we're going to send them loyalty token with their physical purchase. And we're marketing outside of Web3, because the market there is, 1,000 times bigger or whatever it is. So, to kind of circle back and answer your question, like it's definitely a phygital future, where, because think about people with their Fortnite skins, right? When you're playing a video game, which has a huge parallel to this. When you wear a Fortnite skin, you're basically representing, like, they do partnerships with everybody from Marvel to DC to whatever other things, right? So you're just advertising when you're playing as that character for those brands. And I think that's going to kind of parallel in the real world as we move into more online, people spending more time online, but then also physically. Augmented reality is going to open up some really cool opportunities for physical clothing.
Well said. I think I agree with you on that. And as you're speaking, I was like, who are his consumers, or who are his target audience? And it's clear, but then I'm also curious to know what happened like at the moment, because you started because you're really marketing to the web, to obviously consumers as well. And when you started as a physical brand, you obviously had, let's say, Web2 consumers. So how did they feel, or how did it happen when you transitioned into let's say Web3?
Well, yeah, so that was a tough thing, because we also ended up going dark between the Web2 and Web3 stuff. We went dark for the better part of a year during COVID, because we couldn't keep up. The ad spend was too much. So we actually kind of shut down operations. We weren't making any sales, so we couldn't afford to kind of keep that going. So during that, that people moved quickly online, we lost a lot of our kind of attention on social media, which, was Instagram. When you're building a Web2 brand, right? Like Instagram has been the key focus up until TikTok recently, I guess, but that was the main platform. So I kind of feel like as we made this transition, we, opened to Twitter and kind of focused all our attention there. We kind of haven't, our audience just completely changed, essentially. I would say we didn't bring nearly anyone with us from the Web2 days, which, sucks, but also that's okay, because we do something completely different now. And I feel like the Web2 consumer is not going to relate with the Web3 marketing. This is why, like, as we're building Catharsis out now, we're almost building it like two separate companies. We've got the actual Web3, tech side, with all the investors essentially building out the NFT platform and the loyalty token. And then we've got the kind of Web2 focus side, which is the physical stuff. And the physical stuff I see as an onboarding tool. We're going to set ourselves apart in the physical space because of our tech-enabled wearables. So we're going to market, being able to use your clothing for stuff to people. And I think that's going to, be really cool and exciting. And when we pitch it to, retail stores, when we, whatever we need to do, we're still in the process of building that out right now. We have a few things available, like our pendants and stuff, but we don't have our full collections out. But as we drop those, like, we're going to market pretty much exclusively to Web2, and our audiences probably won't even overlap between the Web2 and the Web3 side. So we're kind of splitting it, where Twitter is our Web3 side, and then TikTok and Instagram are kind of our Web2 marketing. And we're kind of, making ourselves look like a normal brand to them, so it doesn't scare them off.
That's interesting. I guess there will come a time where everyone is gonna get on the Web3 wagon, but it's gonna be a slow process. We are always we like to be in our comfort zone, and whatever works for us, why change it, you know? So, you know,
Yeah.
needs a lot of mental like shift and all of that stuff. So I think now I want to like circling back to your launch, 2023 launch. I promised our community that we were gonna hear more about your the Genesis rings launch that is upcoming soon. I want to know how that is connected, or is it like totally separate? Maybe we can dive more into that.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about anyway. So I'm glad you brought it up. Um, so yeah, because we've pushed back the duplicants launch, the avatars into next year, we still wanted to kind of build out a really strong community of kind of dedicated holders, people who believe in the project, the vision, where we're going. So we actually decided to launch one of the wearables early. So this Genesis rings drop is a collection of rings, Genesis rings, because they'll be our first within this ecosystem. And these rings are essentially like parallel to like a founder's key NFT. If you're familiar with like Tom Bilyeu or any of these other projects that have kind of dropped a token that is the first access, early investors, they get special bonuses, they get extra over time. Like that's what this is. These rings are essentially your entry point and your, you know, claim to all of our physical drops. You'll get first access to them. You get a guaranteed mint of a duplicate when they launch. So when you own a ring, you're automatically not only whitelisted, but you get guaranteed a duplicate. So you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to deal with minting nonsense. And then you also get a physical ring, because that's a big part of what we do. So the rings are kind of, you know, you'll be able to essentially get a free ring. We'll ship that out to you. It's like your signet ring or your membership ring in the Catharsis ecosystem. There's a few more other benefits to it, but I'll let people read about that. I don't want to, you know, give it all away. But these are exciting. The contract that they're on actually interacts with the duplicate contract. So we're able to take these rings once they're out, and you'll be able to essentially wear it on your duplicate avatar. Now, it has a really cool visual bonus. It doesn't just look like a ring on the avatar. It actually changes his whole arm, which is really cool. So yeah, you'll be able to wear it in video games, metaverse, you know, social media, and show off that you are one of the first holders of this ecosystem. You'll always have that. And they earn you passive income while you're wearing them. So a lot of cool stuff going on with these guys. And yeah, we're minting those sooner because we're considering it almost like a pre-seed. We want our early investors to feel excited about being part of our ecosystem.
I need to get me one of those rings. Sounds really exciting. Yeah.
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 Well, we are building the allow list. So, I mean, please feel free. And I guess we can offer that to your listeners as well. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds pretty cool. And I want to know if you have any maybe like last thoughts, some sort of maybe advice to designers maybe transition into Web3, or just, you know, any key takeaways or just any last words.
Yeah, 100%. Don't try and do it alone, I think is a really big one. I'm the type of person who, yeah, wanted to do everything myself and just like takes on everything head on. And something in this space that you realize is, you know, this is one of the most interconnected spaces, I think, because Web3 allows you to have transparency and like real, you know, artists and stuff actually doing stuff for themselves. So yeah, I mean, look for like-minded people and, you know, pick their brains. If nothing else, figure out how they did it and build off that and kind of build those relationships so that you can give and take back. I think it's the most important thing, and everybody should be really focused on trying to make as many connections as possible in the space.
Even though I meant to make that my last question, I really want to know if there was something you could change or improve in Web3, what would it be?
If I could change something in Web3, honestly, it's hard. I mean, I would change a lot of things in Web3, but it's kind of panning out the way it's going to pan out, right? I think if I could change one thing, it would be because people are too emotional in this space, right? Like this space is raw emotion. They're acting on it. They're like, you know, reciprocating it to each other. Tensions are high because it's a lot of money up and down, and there's the opportunity for, wealth and success, and everybody's kind of not quite fighting for it, but they're emotional about it. So I guess if I could change something, it would be to tell everyone to just fucking calm down and enjoy the journey. But that's more of a person thing than a Web3 space thing. But yeah, I mean, that would be ideal.
It's a good point, because I think we're torn between being decentralized and kind of still centralized, and this idea of DAOs. And sometimes I think people within communities want to have a voice, because everybody can have a voice. Everybody want to, I guess sometimes it's rooted in that. But yeah, we see where it all goes to over time, and really, really enjoyed our conversation. And I know that our audience and community will be wondering where they can find how to, kind of participate in the whole project. So where can our listeners, where can they find you? Maybe on your social platforms?
I'm sure you'll be putting the links here with the podcast. Totally. So make sure everybody, please check us out at Catharsis NFT on Twitter. We have our link tree there. We've got our Discord. For your listeners, though, Salimi, if you want, we'll offer like kind of an exclusive, just verbal, just listen to what I say, type it in, and you'll be able to get on the allow list. You want to go to alphabot.app/catharsis. So that's alphabot.app/catharsis. Spelled like it sounds. No, it doesn't sound. It's hard to spell. But if you go to that web address, just quickly do the requirements, and you'll be able to get access to the allow list. We're aiming to open them into the allow list in about 4 weeks. So you've got some time, but make sure you get in there. I don't know when the podcast is being released, but by the end of the year, we want to have the allow list open, so that'll time reference. So alphabot.app/catharsis. And the rings we're super excited about they're super cool rings. So I hope we get some of your listeners in with the community, because we're building that out. It's going to be awesome.
So I guess it's time to wrap up. Thank you so much, Ty, and thank you all for participating in today's forum. If you want to get more involved in our community, make sure to follow us on our social platforms. Our Twitter is NEWFORUM_NCO, and we're NEWFORUM.io on NewLife.io. And you can also join our Discord community to connect with our guests, and you'll find all the links in the description, as well as Catharsis links and everything that Ty mentioned. If you want to learn more about New Foundation ecosystem, go to newcoin.org. And again, take a moment, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And I will see you in the next episode.